They are clamping down, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
They do not. They're unhappy with the rabble that are coming outside the Fraze Pavillion, and now they're going to pound up signs. More and more signs around the Fraze.
Things you shouldn't do in a free society.
That's right. You shouldn't stand out and listen in the open air.
Well, if you're on private property.
Well, there's a lot of that stuff is not quite private where most of those people are standing.
Well, this is kind of the question. They're saying the sidewalks on the outside and the tree lawns and parking your car and tailgating is all verboten.
Verboten. Well, the reason that is such a successful thing. Everybody, I heard the little story. This is the same story I get out of the Austin Road. Well, people didn't think we should build the Fraze. They thought the Dayton band shell was enough. Well, really, the Dayton band shell was enough. Yeah, except there's nothing there.
Well,
because you can't control it and sell it and make money off of it. There were too much rabble could see things for free.
Hold on.
You gotta get rid of it.
When you're talking the Dayton band shell, you're talking Island Park.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Island Park has a few problems that, times change and things. One, it didn't really have the backstage facility for modern productions. Mm-hmm. So it didn't have the ability to pull tractor trailers up to the back and load things off. It definitely didn't have the seating. It's just come and sit in the lawn. But most importantly, and let's not, mince words, it has a clientele that some people don't find desirable, like all the inner city people.
Much like Kettering is finding, or the old wealthy folks around the Fraze Pavillion are finding some of that clientele.
They're finding out that the people can actually get in their cars and drive over. And then they're also having problems that they are now Section 8 housing areas in Kettering.
Well, these are people like my mom. I can't imagine her urinating in anyone's yard.
No, but
But she, on a fixed income, she shouldn't be allowed to hear that. She should be,
part of the problem is the Fraze now cordons off their bathrooms, their public restrooms, and only makes them available to the patrons.
Oh, well,
you can't
more restriction.
You can't piss without a ticket. We used to have public restrooms all over, but then we found out that, homeless people would use them, so we must restrict access. And we must put dividers and park benches so you can't use them as a bed.
Well, if you can't afford the ticket at the Fraze, you failed, and therefore you don't need to be around, so we don't want to see you.
But you can still sit out,
That's the reason we moved all the bus stops downtown, because the people going to the Schuster
didn't want to see
those people.
But, you can still hear the Fraze, but they keep moving the barrier further and further out, away from the show. So you can sit way, way back, which wouldn't be any different than going to, Riverfront or something and sitting in any seat there. Excuse me, the Great American Ballpark. Or, even when you go to someplace bigger like Riverfront.
Well, the budgets are getting tight, and, people are getting upset, and they spent their money, and you don't want to upset the people that are paying taxes in Kettering. So you're going to print up more signs, ugly signs, to go around everywhere.
And go around and give people tickets.
Well, my mom got a ticket.
For what?
She parked in the wrong place over at the Fraze. $125, she should have paid for the daggone seat, shouldn't she have? Rabble. She's just rabble.
But, we're seeing a whole bunch of things along these lines, like Huber Heights, Fairborn, Moraine, closing their pools. We see, these cities have money for economic development to hand out tax dollars to private corporations, but they don't have the ability to do these things for their citizens.
Well, they've got money for 9 commissioners and, all kinds of administrative overhead. But
when it comes time to putting tax dollars to use for the public good, Now, I gotta say, Kettering still has the Kettering Rec Center. They have a skate park for the youth. Nationally recognized. Kettering does a lot more. They've got Delco Park. They got the BMX track.
They planned a lot better, but that doesn't mean they'll weather this storm too well as it goes forward.
No, and it's sad because I look at Kettering as sort of the model community for creating community. I think they do a better job than almost any of the other communities around. Oakwood's making big efforts now to...
Well, Oakwood has a walkable community, much better
yes.
than Kettering.
Yes.
I mean, my mother cannot get outside and walk down to the store where most, even though they never would, most people could walk to North Lane Market.
Oakwood's very small.
Extremely small.
Extremely small. Makes it a lot easier. But
if you had, just like South Park, if you had small areas where a little commercial development could be done, you would have had the little small grocery stores.
Well,
but those bring the rabble too. Really.
Yes, we don't like
lottery
rabble.
winos.
Oh yeah, terrible.
People like me, but not David.
No, you won't catch me buying wine.
But anyway, I think this is something we're going to get a lot of pushback. It's already started.
A lot of commentary on that.
Yeah, it was recommended to me last. You got to do this one last night, even when I was out.
Well, here it is. We like your opinion. I mean, some of you are saying we shouldn't pay for roads. I say we shouldn't pay for private corporate, welfare. But the other thing is I don't, like Greg said, we don't need to pay for all these commissioners and everything. What we need to do is put the money back for the good of the people. And I think the Fraze has been good for the people. They have a lot of affordable shows, free shows.
Blast it down and go down to the band shell.
I've been to shows down at Island Park.
It's been some fun.
It's been some fun. I've seen some big acts there, and it works. It could be better, but that's the way it goes.
Yep.
Anyways,
have a good one.
Say goodbye, Greg.
Goodbye.